I worked at a site of this elderly community member, and she had this rose bush that she said it was her mother's. And she herself was a little older, so I can't even imagine how old this rose bush was, but she gave us the task of trimming around it, making sure that it looked amazing. And after we did around it, took care of it, it did look amazing. And getting to see that smile on her face of looking at her mother's rose bush was amazing. And it's just so rewarding to the soul knowing that you can give a smile to someone who needs it.
Welcome to the Power of PennWest. I'm your host, Dr. John Anderson, president of PennWest University. Whether you're a current student, a proud alum, or just curious about the PennWest community, welcome. Please stay tuned as we explore the stories, achievements, and experiences of the people who bring life to our campuses in California, Clarion, Edinboro, and online. Welcome to the Power of PennWest podcast. All right, welcome everybody to the Power of PennWest podcast. Today I have 4 guests with me in our virtual studio to talk about how PennWest engages with the community and provides service in the community. I've talked often about how PennWest is a community-based institution, and today's podcast is an example of exactly how we implement that. I want to invite each of our guests. Thanks to each of you for being here today. We have Dr. Amy Eperthener. We have Cassidy McCormick, one of our students here, and Dr. Leah Chambers, another one of our faculty members, and Tyrique Whitson, another student. Each of these members of the PennWest community lead a project, at least one project, that involves our community in significant ways. We look forward to hearing about each one of those. Amy is an athletic trainer at the Edinboro campus, and her project is the Make-A-Wish project. Dr. Leah Chambers is an English professor at Clarion, and she is the co-director of the Community Learning Workshop and a co-founder of that. Cassidy McCormick is a senior elementary education major and chairperson for Toys for Tots. And Tyrique Whitson is a junior dual sociology and political science major and chairperson for the Big Event. Tyrique is also a member of our Council of Trustees. So technically he's my boss. So it's good to have you on the call with us here, Tyrique. Well, welcome to each of you.
Oh, thanks for having us.
Thank you.
And thanks for being part of this dynamic PennWest community. So let's hear from each of you a little bit about your projects and how you engage the community. Amy, let's start with you.
So as you said, I'm an athletic trainer here at Edinboro. And part of my time is supervising what's called the Student Athlete Advisory Committee. That's a committee that the NCAA and the PSAC require us to have. That committee is mostly used for giving the student athletes a voice to get to communicate with our athletic administration if there's any issues they want to bring up, voting on rule changes with the conference and the NCAA. But also going along with that is the NCAA has a relationship with Make-A-Wish. Every school, NCAA school, has a SAC, and they raise money for Make-A-Wish. And so that is the primary service to the community that this group of student athletes participates in. What's interesting is because they're student athletes, they are very busy. So they don't have a lot of free time outside of training, treatments, travel, competitions. So they really have to be dedicated to find the spare minutes in their day to do these little fundraisers throughout the year to raise money for Make-A-Wish. And all of the money that we raise stays right here in our local chapter, which is really nice. We are lucky enough this year to be able to do a reveal, which means we get to tell a Make-A-Wish kid that their wish has been granted. And you have to raise a certain amount of money to have that privilege. And we were able to do that. So that's what's exciting coming up here in a couple of weeks.
That's fantastic. I can imagine what it's like to be a parent of one of those recipients.
I can't imagine.
We're looking forward to that big reveal.
Yes, we are too.
Cassidy, tell us about Toys for Tots.
All right. So I am the financial secretary for the Student Government Association on the California campus. And Toys for Tots is something that position has planned in years past. So I was honored to continue the tradition and organize it on the California campus, as well as opening it up to our community. So in late October, I started a committee among senators, and we worked with different locations, both across campus as well as off campus, to have donation boxes set set up. Donations are collected campus and community wide, so any student, faculty member, or even community member can donate. And then those donations are taken to the California Borough Police, and they distribute them to local California children in need. This year, they said that we ended up donating more donations just from us than they collected in years past from the community whole. So we ended up donating 267 toys, and we helped to raise $1,060. A lot of that actually came from collaborating with the Acacia fraternity. Their alumni donated the majority of those funds, which we got to use at a local Walmart and buy toys. So it was a wonderful experience, and getting to know that we're making a difference to local kids in need is amazing.
That's fantastic, Cassidy. It's great to see students so involved. Do you get the chance to see the kids actually get the toys?
We weren't, however, hopefully someday in the future, our timelines will kind of correspond so we can. So they actually ended up giving the toys away during our finals week. So that was a little hard to coordinate, but they have this huge community event where the borough police allow kids to come in with their families and specifically pick the toys.
Oh, that's fantastic. And I'm sure you did well on your finals and had a chance not to avoid those, right? At least you had
Oh,
an
yes.
excuse. If you wanted to avoid one, you could say, I'm with the kids.
Oh, yeah.
Dr. Chambers, Leah, tell us about this project that you have started. I've had the chance to visit this community learning workshop to see how the students operate and to see the unique collaboration that allows students to learn outside of the classroom. Can you tell us a little bit about this? Talk about the program first. We'll come back later and talk about how it got started.
So the community learning workshop is staffed by university students, and it's an after-school homework help and tutoring center. So we work with learners of all ages. We work with any pre-K all the way through adult learners. And we do have some adults who come in with intellectual disabilities who might need help just counting change or a little help with reading. And we are entirely staffed by university students. So we're staffed by education majors, speech language pathology majors. Most are in education or speech path, but not all of them. We also sometimes will get students from other majors outside of that who just want to engage with the community. So we do the after school services, but we also do evening educational programs too. And everything is free. So everything we offer to the community is offered free of charge.
And you're located in a pretty great spot. Tell us where you're located.
We are. So we're in our fourth location in the past 11 years, but we are right on Main Street. So we're right in the heart of downtown Clarion. So we're really truly a community space. So we get good foot traffic. People walk by and kind of look in and say, hey, what do you do here? But it's really essentially a community center.
That's excellent. And Tyrique, let's hear about your big event. This is no little event. This is the big event.
Yeah, so every year, the student government vice president, which I also serve as right now, plans the big event. So we chair it. And pretty much what we do is we go into the community and we get houses and businesses set up as sites. And that's kind of like the biggest mission for the big event is bringing the students from campus into the community and helping out, doing whatever these businesses or sites need. These can range from painting to raking leaves. I know last year we helped our church on 3rd Street, and we kind of just helped them recover from a bunch of leaks and stuff that they had from a huge storm. So this year, the big event will be on March 29th. So it's a every spring thing. And yeah, we just get a bunch of clubs and organizations signed up. We always have a lot of our clubs sign up. All of our fraternities and sororities are required to do this for service hours. Then we also try to get our sports clubs as well signed up.
That's great, Tyrique. And I would bet by the end of March, the way the weather is going this year, that you may be snow shoveling and not raking leaves.
I'd say the same thing.
That's great. Let's shift gears for just a little bit. I'd love to hear from the four of you. At some point in your life, you decided that part of your life, part of your time, part of your work was going to be contributing to a community. Was there an event, a person that changed that perspective or helped you realize that giving back has a lot of value, an individual reward for sure, but obviously a reward to the community? How did some experience you had shape your view that community service, community engagement is a rewarding thing to participate in? Because it takes a lot of time, it takes a lot of effort And usually there's not a lot of monetary reward or anything like that. It's just that good feeling you get when you've done something good for someone. You get a chance to walk away and feel like you've made the world a better place. What is it inside of you that makes community service something that you do? Amy, you want to start with us?
That's a really, really good question, by the way. So I have to say, I can think of one kind of pivotal thing, but I will have to say that growing up, my family was always doing this. So, whether it was through church or just in our neighborhood, like if somebody needed something or needed help with something, my family were the people that my aunts, my grandparents, my parents. So I think I watched it happen before I ever really had an opportunity to decide that I wanted to do that myself. But I can think of a time in my senior year in high school. I'm the oldest of four. I remember my senior year in high school, a family that lived kind of in our neighborhood was one of my youngest sister's friends. The father had died suddenly before Christmas. There was a bunch of kids. And I remember my mom just saying, like, those kids need Christmas. Like, what, we need to figure something out. And so I went to school and at my lockers, I turned to all my friends and I'm like, hey, there's this family down the street. If we each take a kid, like, can we do something? And my friends all showed up with clothes and socks and toys and coloring books. And then just to realize all you have to do is ask. I know a lot of people will say to me, like, kind of what you said, which is, I don't know how you have time for this, whatever. And yes, sometimes it is time consuming, but sometimes it's actually really simple. Sometimes you just say to people like, hey, do you have any books you're not using anymore? Or hey, do you have coats you're not using anymore? Like, I think a lot of people want to help and don't know how and think that it's super time consuming and think that it's going to be really hard. And sometimes it's actually not that hard or not that time consuming. So there is really, really simple ways to have a big impact. And so I try to look for those ones, obviously, for life management purposes. But giving back is honestly one of the best feelings that, like, it's church to me. I would volunteer every day if I could and had time to do it.
That's fantastic. What a great story. Because a lot of kids, when they're in school, aren't willing to talk to their friends about that or a little shy. And it's really impressive that you walked straight to the friends and said, let's fix this problem.
And that they showed up, you know what I mean? So yeah, it was really good.
That's great. Cassidy, how about you?
I had a similar experience of growing up and watching those around me, part of my church, give back to others in our local community. And being an older sister to four siblings, I really kind of grew up with this caretaker role. And I think it really has a big piece of my heart. I was very excited to get the chance to work with Toys for Tots, knowing that I would be able to give back to other kids who may not have that older sibling looking out for them. And another experience that really inspired me was my first big event that I did freshman year. I worked at a site of this elderly community member, and she had this rose bush that she said it was her mother's. And she herself was a little older, so I can't even imagine how old this rose bush was. But she gave us the task of trimming around it, making sure that it looked amazing. And after we did around it, took care of it, it did look amazing. And getting to see that smile on her face of looking at her mother's rose bush was amazing. And it's just so rewarding to the soul knowing that you can give a smile to someone who needs it.
That's a great story. Thank you, Cassidy. Leah, how about you?
So I don't think I can pinpoint necessarily one experience. I did grow up in a family that had, I think, a similar sense of charity and altruism that, Amy and Cassidy have mentioned. But I think for me, it was also about finding purpose in my own career and trying to think about like what should be the mission of higher education and what's the role that I'm playing in this. And really, this is, to me, it's a lot about equity and it's about social justice, and that I am privileged to be a part of an institution that has resources that can be extended to the local community. And I think that it also took really kind of maturing in my career to figure out that like there is a bigger purpose to all this, but then also having a partner who helped to also, mentor me through this project. So we co-founded, we co-direct, he'd had experience doing this. And then it's more about like, it's taking the mission of what you're trying to do and extending it to outside the classroom, right? So that we weren't just telling our students who are pre-service teachers, this is really, the mission should be about helping others and making their lives easier, that we essentially, with the community learning workshop, like we're walking that walk, right? And we're saying that this is part of what you should be doing. So I don't, it wasn't one experience, but it's more me figuring out what's the point, right? Like, why am I here and what should I be doing to kind of pay it forward?
That's excellent. I'd love to hear that perspective from a faculty member, because a faculty member's role is a lot about giving. You teach, instruct, and build the future of students' careers and lives all day, every day. And for you to have crafted out that niche to say, I want to help also in this way, is really impressive. Thanks for sharing that, please. Tyrique, tell us your changing moment, if you had one.
Yeah, so something that I grew up with, especially with my dad and my granddad, and just my family in general, was that we are in this world to serve others, and to help the people who may not be able to, provide for themselves or do things for themselves. And so that was a big part of my life, starting out young, where, we would cook for people who may not be able to have a next meal the next day or something like that. And then also in high school, I was in this club called Interact Club, where we would go and do different things around the city. So that included the Polar Plunge. That included Charlie Batch, who's a Pittsburgh Steeler. Well, he used to be a Pittsburgh Steeler. He had a Batch of Toys event where we would wrap toys. So kind of like Toys for Tots. Just going out and doing things that can either make other people happy, just help them in general. My favorite is helping like older people who, can't really get around as much anymore. I love helping them because, one, they have the best stories. And then two, it's good to see a smile on their face. And so I guess that's a big thing that motivates me, especially with the big event. It just motivates me to go out into this community and help make others' day, even if it's just one day of the year, just help them feel better about themselves. And that's a nice thing for me to see.
We'll be right back after this message.
At PennWest University, we're making college make sense again for people who maybe thought college wasn't the answer. We're making college practical with programs tied to in-demand jobs that prepare you for success right away. We're making college accessible by breaking down barriers and offering more choices. We're making college approachable with faculty who understand where you're coming from and help you get where you're going. At PennWest, we're making college valuable again for people just like you. Learn more at pennwest.edu.
So let's talk for just a minute about each of the organizations that you choose to participate with. Some of these are national or international organizations. Some of them are organizations you created yourself. So let's talk through, if you can just give us a brief introduction to each of the organizations and how it got started, because just like you had to choose to participate, someone at some point had to choose to start it. So let's start with this Make-A-Wish. Amy, can you tell us a little bit about the history of Make-A-Wish?
They provide wishes to kids with critical illnesses. So everything from vacations to meeting a celebrity to, being a hockey player for a day, whatever these kids wish for eventually gets granted, which is really awesome.
Cassidy, tell us a little bit about Toys for Tots. Is it a national organization, international organization? What do you know about it?
So I know that Toys for Tots is a national organization and it's part of the Marine Corps Reserve, but I know that our local branch is more focused on working with the direct Cal Borough Police Department. So our ties to the national Toys for Tots is a little bit weak, but it is more directly with our borough police.
Leah, tell us a little bit about how Community Learning Workshop got started. Where did this idea come from?
My colleague, who's also the co-founder, Rich Lane, he had started a family literacy center at the University of Utah when he worked there. And when he came to Clarion in the early 2000s, I didn't come here until 2010, but I think it was something that he'd always wanted to potentially restart here. And essentially, it was an act of noticing, right? Noticing that we're in a community where children don't have access and families don't have access to a lot of free educational resources. So it was an act of noticing, seeing that need, and then the opportunity came up for us to apply for some internal grant funding to establish essentially a high impact practice. So we engaged with that proposal by talking about service learning and how we would engage the students in the community through service learning and through our courses by creating the workshop. So it really started as it was it really was a project. And then we got the seed money for a couple of years. And then after that, we're relatively successful. And so the university agreed to continue to support us. It's been 11 years now. And
I like that active observing, just watching what's going on and seeing a need and filling it. Tyrique, tell us about this big event. Did you create this big event, or is it a national organization of some kind?
So the big event was actually started by a man named Joe Nussbaum. So it was in Texas A&M University in 1982 when it was started. And so he was the vice president for his student government at that time. It's something that kind of has, moved to different universities, whether it's by research or word of mouth. And it's become this big, it's not like an organization, so to speak, but it's this big event that does occur at many universities around the United States. I know that there's another university within our state who does it as well. So it's something that many schools do, and it is a student-led event as well.
Super. Thank you, Tyrique. Let's talk next about that second layer, because it's one thing for you to be able to give and to lead and to serve in these ways in each of your organizations, but it's a different thing for you to invite someone else to participate. What is your approach when you meet someone who you believe may have some time, may have some resources? How do you approach them and say, this is really meaningful work? Would you mind joining me in this effort? What is that approach like? Specific examples you invited people to participate? Amy, will you start that for us?
Typically, our teams select their representatives, but I do have some kind of encouragement in terms of who runs for an office. I'll look for the kids that are super motivated or that I know have it in them and maybe just are a little nervous about stepping out of that comfort zone. And I'll be like, hey, why don't you try out vice president or something? Or if there's something they're particularly interested in, like last year, they did a flower sale before Valentine's Day, and they kind of did that on their own. So, kind of people that have creative ideas that just maybe haven't thought about a leadership position. So really, I just try to pay attention to who's coming and who's participating and what I think they can offer. But also, you don't want to be too pushy. If people aren't ready, that's fine. I do think that this reveal for us is going to be life-changing for our students also, because it's one thing to always do a 50-50 at a basketball game or a football game and do basket raffles and know that we donated thousands of dollars. But I think for them to actually see the direct impact of that fundraising to a family will change that for them. I've had that experience in the past as a faculty member. We used to have reveals a lot more often about 10 or 15 years ago. So it's been a while since we've done it. And I just know that that is going to change it for them. That's going to be one of those pivotal moments for them where that's the why, right? When you see the kid who has a medical condition that now gets to do something awesome because of what we did. So I really think they're going to have that life-changing moment on February 8th.
That's outstanding. And once that ball starts rolling, lots of people want to jump on board because they see and feel the same things.
Correct. Yeah. And I've kind of been trying to sell it to them, like, just wait. Like, I promise you, once we get it, it's going to change your life. And for them to even just find out we got the privilege, the momentum has already picked up and they're being super creative and they're super excited. So I think the ball's going to keep rolling. Yeah, but sometimes getting the ball rolling is not easy.
That's great. Amy, Cassidy?
So with Toys for Tots, the why I feel like is very clear, knowing that you're giving back to kids in need. So thankfully, this year I had a lot of help, mainly from Lisa Boudet, who kind of ran the community aspect. She is an attorney in town. She had a box in her office, as well as the local Dollar General, and they collected and then took the toys over themselves, and it was amazing to see. And then also from Brandon Hebda, who's the current president of the Acacia fraternity. In the past, they kind of did their own thing called Acacia Claws, where they helped to donate toys. So this year we really approached them about doing the Toys for Tots together. And I think that really led us to having the most successful collection of toys and getting those 267 in total. So when approaching to them about the project, they kind of already knew what it was and knew that they had reason and motivation to join as well. So it was pretty smooth, and I don't think we could have gotten as successful without them. So I definitely think reaching out and finding people to collaborate with, especially with service projects, is good. There's not really a reason why not to.
That's great. Thanks, Cassidy. Leah,
So when Rich Lane and I first opened the workshop in 2013, it might surprise you to know that children were not beating down the door for free homework help. And so we sort of had a multi-pronged issue where we needed enough staff, right? But we also wanted to make sure that we were fulfilling a need in the community. And so what we've really had to do over the past 11 years is really work to develop relationships with local teachers, with local principals, with local families, and then within the university with fellow faculty to kind of steer students in our direction. And then also with the students in our own courses saying, hey, here's this place where you're an education major, you can get some experiential, learning before you go out on block or go do your student teaching. So it's been a lot of developing those relationships early on, continuing to cultivate those. So keeping up with schools and teachers. And then now we're lucky that it's word of mouth. I mean, we don't have to widely advertise to get students who want to volunteer, who want to work for us, who want to, be graduate assistants. It's really, they see that the work is rewarding and they see that it's kind of challenging too. And they'll tell their friends like, hey, this is a fun place to work. You should come, work here too. And now it's really word of mouth. I mean, we have a staff of over 30 students this semester, and a lot of those came to us because they had a friend who worked there, or they're a junior or senior and they have a first-year student who's starting out. So it's just sort of grown in that way. But it does take effort to maintain those relationships, especially since we're gone a few months of the year. The university students go away, but it's continuing that outreach and reminding people that, hey, we're here, and then also students reminding them that hey, this is a great opportunity for you.
That's great. Tyrique, talk to us about how you invite others to participate.
Something that we've been doing more recently is sending letters to businesses. And we do it in kind of an unorthodox way because we're not really sending it out mail wise. What I've been doing is just ask my friends and just saying, hey, are you going to this store today? Can you take this letter with you? And just, give it to their manager. The way we do it is we want to make it personalized. We put the store's name on it and just say, hey, if you would like to join us in these efforts of helping our community, please do so here. And then we even tell them that we will put their name, on our little thing in the morning, or we'll announce their name in the morning, a big event, and just say we appreciate them and that, they're a good place to go, but also encouraging our clubs and organizations. So we'll send out an email to every club and organization telling them, hey, this is the date and this is the time of everything happening. Please sign up, encourage your members to sign up, and, let them know why we're doing this and how exactly they're going to be doing it. And so it's a big thing about asking and just letting people know, hey, this is important and you should be a part of this because you can make a huge difference. Even if you don't know what difference you're making a difference. And so that's something that we try to push for student government.
That's great, Tyrique. Thanks. And that formal approach can invite a whole different group when they receive an official letter, not just a friendly invitation, but friendly invitations work as well too. Thank you, Tyrique. Well, it has been so fun to have the four of you here, have the four of you talk about these community service initiatives, talk about how PennWest serves and engages in the community. It'll be fun for other faculty and staff and alums to listen to the good work that's going on. So thank you for taking time to join us and sharing your thoughts today. Appreciate you being here. Dr. Amy Eperthener, athletic trainer in Edinboro. Dr. Leah Chambers, English professor in Clarion. Cassidy McCormick, one of our elementary education majors at PennWest, and Tyrique, dual major sociology and political science. Thanks to each of you for joining us today.
Thank you.
We look forward to seeing you around campus.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us.
And thanks to everyone for joining today's episode of the Power of PennWest podcast.